Hello, I'm Patricia, a 34-year-old navigating the everyday challenges of a typical job while raising my son. Romance hadn't played a significant role in my life until my 30s when my parents, concerned about my single status, introduced me to William. He seemed ideal, devoted to his family, which aligned perfectly with my values. We married, and it felt like the beginning of a beautiful fairy tale. However, just 8 months into our marriage, everything changed dramatically. One day, William called me multiple times, his voice weary and strained. When I finally reached him, he revealed that his father, Paul, had unexpectedly collapsed at home and had been rushed to the hospital. Tragically, Paul passed away, leaving a profound emptiness in our lives, especially for William's mother, who now faced this loss alone. William devoted himself to her, spending significant time with her, taking her out, and planning trips to help ease her grief. The situation grew more complicated when I won a trip to Hawaii through a contest. Rather than viewing it as an opportunity for us to escape and perhaps heal, William saw it differently. He threatened to divorce me if I didn't agree to let him and his mother go on the trip without me, using the prize as leverage to ensure his mother's happiness. His mother appeared to support this arrangement, leaving me feeling manipulated and excluded. I was determined not to be sidelined any longer. I would stand up for myself. This experience revealed a side of William the first hadn't expected, one that resorted to emotional blackmail to achieve his desires. While this realization was disheartening, it also strengthened my resolve to confront the dynamics of our relationship and ensure my own happiness wasn't continuously compromised. It wasn't that William completely ignored me. However, whenever our plans clashed with his commitments to his mother, he consistently chose her over me. His typical responses were phrases like, "Sorry, Patricia, Mom needs me," or "We made these plans with Mom long ago." Although I outwardly agreed, I often simmered with frustration inside. Why was it always me who had to compromise? Wasn't William's mother being excessively demanding? Despite these ongoing tensions, William's bond with his mother was undeniable, and aside from this issue, our marriage seemed stable. I initially assumed this was just how some families functioned. To cope, I found solace in engaging with crossword puzzles that offered prizes, a perfect distraction during the times when William was preoccupied with his mother. Occasionally, I would win gift cards or free meals, which felt like a nice bonus. Then one day, I struck gold. I won 2 tickets to Hawaii. Overjoyed, I double-checked the win, even before considering travel plans. At first, I thought about inviting William but hesitated, fully aware of his inclination to involve his mother in our travel plans. After some reflection, I decided that the tickets would make a wonderful gift for my parents. On my way home, I decided to stop by my parents' house to share my exciting news. Bursting with enthusiasm, I exclaimed, "Mom, guess what? I won tickets to Hawaii." Her eyes sparkled with surprise and joy. "Wow, that's incredible. You and William must be over the moon," she replied. I hesitated for a moment before saying, "Actually, I want you and Dad to have them." Mom looked genuinely taken aback but touched by my gesture, momentarily speechless. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice laced with surprise and delight. I reassured her, "Absolutely. William travels enough as it is. I want you and Dad to enjoy this opportunity." Mom's face lit up with happiness, but I noticed a flicker of concern on Dad's face. "Is something wrong?" I asked, sensing his unease. "Well, it's a busy time at the company, and I'm not sure I can take time off right now," Dad explained apologetically. I sighed, feeling a blend of disappointment and understanding. But then Dad's expression brightened as he suggested, "Why not take Amy instead? It was your prize. After all, you two should go and spend some quality time together." Mom nodded enthusiastically, clearly excited by the idea. "That sounds wonderful." Inspired by the renewed excitement, I applied for leave the next day. which was promptly approved. I then called the airline to arrange for the tickets to be used by Amy and me. On my way home from work, I stopped by a bookstore to pick up a guidebook for Hawaii. It had been ages since Mom and I had traveled together, and I was genuinely looking forward to it. When I arrived home, expecting the house to be empty, I was surprised to find the lights on. I had assumed William was still out, but instead of his shoes, I spotted a familiar pair of women's shoes at the entrance. Confused, I stepped inside to find Kelly emerging from the living room. "Patricia, do you know what time it is?" she scolded as soon as she saw me. "Oh, Kelly, I didn't realize you were here," I replied, taken aback by both her presence and her tone. "It's not just about me being here. It's late, and William will be back soon," she continued, her voice carrying a sharp edge of reproach. "I'm sorry, I'll start on dinner right away," I apologized, hurrying toward the kitchen, but Kelly didn't stop there. She launched into a critique of my absence, making it clear she expected more from me in managing the household. Her words stung, a painful reminder of the tightening boundaries in my life that I was increasingly determined to challenge. With a heavy sigh, Kelly questioned my commitment as a daughter-in-law, attributing my perceived shortcomings to my job. According to her, my priorities should place home above all else. She often used her spare key to drop in unannounced. Given her close proximity, clinging to outdated views on a daughter-in-law's role, Kelly expected me to dedicate myself to serving William and his family without question. Her constant critiques made it increasingly difficult for me to feel any warmth toward her. As I unpacked groceries and started preparing dinner, Kelly's voice cut through the air with sudden urgency. "Wait, what's this? Patricia, are you planning a trip to Hawaii?" Kelly exclaimed, her eyes widening as she discovered the guidebook I had just bought. "Kelly, why are you going through my things?" I replied, irritation creeping into my voice. "That's not the issue here. Why are you planning to go to Hawaii?" she pressed, her tone taking on a confrontational edge. I had won a trip in a contest and was planning to give it to my mom, trying my best to keep my composure as I explained my intentions. "I haven't heard anything about this. Why should I?" Kelly snapped, her confrontational tone making my frustration bubble. Before I could respond, William walked in, and Kelly wasted no time informing him of her discovery, pointing at me with an accusatory finger. "Patricia's being thoughtless. What's her problem?" she pressed. William turned to me, his expression stern. "What's going on here?" he demanded. "I won the trip and wanted to give it to my parents, but since Dad can't go, I thought it would be nice for Mom and me to go together," I replied, trying to clarify the situation before it escalated. "Why didn't you talk to me about this first?" William asked, his voice laced with confusion and irritation. "It's my prize, William," I said, frustration evident as I faced him. "What's the big deal? You always travel with Kelly." "That's different. Mom and I only go on domestic trips. We haven't been abroad in years," William countered, his voice rising. "How could you make this decision without discussing it with me?" He slammed his hand on the table, cutting me off. "You're getting too bold for a daughter-in-law. Mom and I are going, and you're staying home, Mommy," he declared, the childishness of his words stinging. "Wait a minute. You've had enough of this trip," I shot back, striving to stay calm. "If you're unhappy about it, let's talk about divorce." I couldn't believe we were having this conversation over a trip. It felt absurd. Fuming, I replied, "I won this trip fair and square. I'm giving it to my mom. Can't you see the signs? For once, Mom wants to go. When does it end with always putting Kelly first? You never consider how I feel." "I don't care how you feel," William said coldly. "This trip is for me and Mommy. You can stay home and behave." His dismissive attitude sent a chill through my affection for him. It was evaporating quickly, It was clear I was lower on his priority list than Kelly. I couldn't keep putting up with this ridiculous dynamic. Fine. Do what you want and enjoy your trip. You should have listened to me in the first place, I said calmly. Do what you want, William replied dismissively, a far cry from the caring person I once knew. Meanwhile, Kelly stood by, looking smug and victorious, clearly reveling in the turn of events. Feeling the need for space, I decided to leave the house while William and Kelly were away on their trip. Some distance would give me time to think and figure out how to navigate this growing rift. I resolved to let them carry on with their vacation plans. The next day, I called the airline to transfer the tickets to William and his mother. However, the conversation took an unexpected turn. The airline representative sounded concerned as they informed me, "I'm sorry, but once the participants are confirmed, we can't change them." "Is that so?" I asked, disappointment washing over me. "Yes, and this ticket requires the actual winner to be one of the travelers," the operator explained. "If it's your husband and mother-in-law, the ticket won't be valid." "So if I don't go, the ticket is worthless?" I clarified, seeking confirmation on the restriction. "Exactly. Please check the documents we sent you. They mention this condition," they advised. After reviewing the documents, it became clear that only I, as the winner, could use the ticket, and it couldn't be transferred. Deciding against informing William and Kelly right away, I planned for them to travel at their own expense if they chose to do so. That evening, after returning from work, I casually brought up the Hawaii trip to gauge William's thoughts. "Hey, how about that trip?" I initiated. "Yeah, did you talk to the airline? Are Mommy and I all set to go?" William asked eagerly, his anticipation clear. "I did call them," I said, handing him the winning documents along with the tickets. "Here are the documents and the tickets." "I only need the tickets. I won't bother reading the documents," William replied dismissively. "But there might be important details in there, especially since it's an international trip," I suggested, hinting at the necessity of understanding the ticket conditions. "I don't think I need to. Mommy and I are just excited about the trip." William brushed off my suggestion, his focus solely on the upcoming vacation. As William skimmed over the importance of reading the fine print, I felt a mix of frustration and resignation. It was evident that the critical details, vital for the trip's feasibility, were being overlooked amid the excitement. "I've got it covered. We're efficient, unlike you," he retorted, dismissively. "Fine, whatever. I'll leave them here just in case," I replied, placing the documents on the table, fully aware that William might ignore the crucial information they contained. As expected, on the day of their trip, I made sure William had left before packing my bags and heading to my parents' house for a quiet stay. While unpacking, the anticipated call from William came through. As soon as I picked up, he burst out, "Hey, what's going on? They're saying the ticket can't be used." "That's right. If the winner doesn't go, the ticket is invalid," I explained calmly, trying to keep the conversation neutral. "What? Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" William demanded, confusion and frustration lacing his voice. "I did mention it. Remember? I suggested it might be a good idea to read the instructions," I reminded him, hoping he'd recall our earlier conversation. "You mean it was in those documents you gave me?" William asked, his irritation palpable. "Exactly. It's your fault for not reading them." "This is ridiculous," he exclaimed, his agitation rising. "So how are we supposed to get to Hawaii now?" he pressed, his tone increasingly frantic. "Well, the operator mentioned that if the winner doesn't go, you'd have to pay the full price for new tickets," I replied, maintaining my composure despite the tension. I replied matter-of-factly, caught off guard by the sudden turn of events. William sounded frantic, and I could hear Kelly's voice in the background, signaling their shared distress. "William, what did Patricia say?" Kelly demanded, her tone sharp. "Mommy, if Patricia doesn't go, we have to pay for the trip," William explained, disbelief lacing his voice. He then handed the phone to Kelly. "Let me talk to her," she insisted, clearly eager to take control of the situation and find a way out of their predicament. "I can't deal with this anymore," Kelly snapped. Deciding I had enough, I hung up without another word, letting them sort it out themselves. It wasn't long before William called back. "Hello?" I answered, bracing myself for more drama. "What is it now?" "I'm busy," I said coldly, my patience wearing thin. "It's not, what is it?" William sounded flustered. "I tried to buy the tickets, but the credit card isn't working," he explained, frustration evident in his voice. "Huh? I don't know anything about your card," I replied, genuinely puzzled. "It's not mine, it's your card," William clarified. "Oh, so you're saying you used my card without my permission?" I shot back, my tone icy. "I just need to fix it now. When I checked my wallet this morning, my card was missing." "I had a hunch and immediately froze it," he said, realizing the reason behind his troubles. "I knew you'd take it without asking." William retorted angrily. "Are you kidding me? I was planning to use that card for shopping abroad." I exclaimed, my frustration boiling over. "You're always messing things up," he fired back, his annoyance palpable. "You're such a jerk." I snapped. "Who are you calling a witch? After you mock everyone else, you should just go to hell," he shouted, showing no remorse for using my card without permission. Fed up with his selfish behavior, I coldly rebuked him. "You've got some nerve. Who do you think you're talking to like that?" William asked, sounding both offended and taken aback. "Who do you think?" "Calling out for mommy is honestly creepy," I retorted, highlighting his odd dependency. The situation had spiraled far beyond mere travel plans, exposing the deeper issues in our relationship. "If you love your mom so much, maybe you two should just stay together," I said, my voice heavy with exasperation. "I can't keep being married to a mama's boy. There's no value in staying together." "Hey, calm down. If you keep this up, we'll end up getting a divorce." William shot back, his tone sharp and defensive. "Fine by me. I was thinking the same thing," I retorted, resolute in my decision. "I've left the house and don't plan to come back. Enjoy your trip abroad with your beloved mommy. I hope you both have a fantastic time," I added sarcastically before hanging up, feeling a mix of anger and relief. Fuming, I ended the call and promptly blocked William and his mother on all my devices. Taking my father's advice, I went to a law firm to start the process of ending my marriage. While reviewing our finances to divide our assets, I was shocked to discover our joint account was empty. William had withdrawn money multiple times, coinciding with his trips with his mom. It was evident he'd used our savings for their vacations and had also swiped my credit card without permission. I demanded substantial compensation from him, which left him deep in debt and being pursued by creditors. His once indulgent mother, who had always gotten her way, now found herself at odds with William. Their interactions turned into arguments every time they met, a stark contrast to their previously close relationship. It was ironic how things had changed, considering how spoiled he used to be. Meanwhile, I chose to stay with my parents for a while. The ordeal had worried them, and I wanted to make it up to them by living with them and taking care of them. Being away from the chaos of my marriage made me realize what truly mattered: having a loving, supportive family. Going through this divorce reaffirmed that belief, helping me rediscover my priorities.